start thinking, well, what's wrong with the customers you've got? Customers are the most valuable asset in your business, the most important asset in your business. Because if you have a customer, they will tell you, if you have the good sense to talk to them, exactly what the value is that you're delivering.
Luckily enough, because I have educated the board myself on that consultancy assignment, and the CEO, they stood behind my back, and we managed to do it. The chairman, one of the highest names in this particular country, that is favorite for you as well. The chairman bringing everybody in a whole room and saying, Hany and your team, customer experience, thank you. He's a top man. And he said, now I can raise my head high in front of everyone because of what you guys did to our brand, which is customer experience.
Is that there's no loyalty whatsoever with shareholders. Like literally, if I'm investing in your business in shares, my only goal is to make a profit from those shares. And the thing is, immediately I get a sense that that's not going to continue to happen, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Hello there, my name's Martin Henley, and this is episode 5 of the CX Education Leadership Podcast. And in this episode of the CX Education Leadership Podcast, we have a guest. And our guest graduated in 1994 from the Hewon University in Cairo, started work in hospitality before moving into mobile communications, where he worked in customer care with Orange Egypt before working his way up to marketing specialist in customer management. He then left for Mobily, where he worked his way up again to Director of Customer Experience Management, and then moved across to Zain before heading back to Mobily to become the Senior Vice President of Customer Experience. He is now a member of the Advisory Board Council at Harvard Business Review, Senior Advisor at Arthur D. Little, Advisory Board Expert at Smart Business Solutions, and on the faculty at the American University in Cairo. He is a keynote speaker, CX trainer, and creator of the CX Mastermind board game. Welcome to the 5th and your 3rd episode of the CX Education Leadership Masterclass, Professor Hany Mokhtar. How are you, my friend?
All is well. Great to have another podcast with you again.
Fantastic. And I thought it was time that we did the introduction again, because it's been 4 episodes since we did that. We can't expect people to go. We can't if we are customer focused, customer centric. We can't be asking our customers to go and look at another episode of the podcast to hear all about your fantastic successes. We can't do that. That wouldn't be customer centric.
Very well. Yes, very well. Especially in the get informed touch point. So if the touch point of getting informed, then we, as a journey design, since we are CX proponents.
Yes, journey design is something that we need to talk about in the future. Are we going to pretend that we aren't re-recording this one because I made a horrible mess of the sound on the last one? Should we just pretend that that's not happening?
Yes.
We'll
yes.
pretend that. Okay,
Yes.
good. All right. Good. So what would you like to talk to us about today, Hany? What have you got in store for us?
So customer experience transformation program, and when we speak about the transformation program, as we agreed and as we all know, it's a holistic thingy, and it cannot be a one time. It has to be institutionalized. So institutionalization of the customer experience transformation program. That's what we should, what I believe and we believe we should focus upon in this episode.
Okay, good. It feels to me now that I'm not struggling with the technology and I'm able to give you my attention now, that we might be missing some steps. There's a conversation that we need to have, but I need to prepare for it, and I'm not this time because we are re-recording this in a hurry, for building a business case for CX. But for the purposes of this podcast, let's not imagine anyone's going to sit down and watch all of these in order. We are imagining that we've convinced the business, that all of the stakeholders who need to be convinced are convinced, and now we are driving ahead with a customer experience transformation. And so what does that transformation look like? We spoke previously. For people who don't know, let's pretend we're going to put a link up here. We're not. They can go and look at episode number 2, where we're talking about how you convince people through board games and the CX lab and those things. So we've started to build a pretty convincing argument. What does the transformation typically look like? How do businesses manage to transform in this way?
Okay, well, the transformation program, when it will when you will take the decision, even with the board, even with the CEO, and we are all aligned that we are going to transform, the starting point should be much earlier than that. So the starting point is we now have to do what we call customer experience maturity assessment. And that's a critical aspect that every organization has to do.
Okay. So is this part of the convincing process or this is part of the implementation process?
Part of the implementation process.
Okay, fantastic. And so what does a CX maturity assessment look like?
So when I have a very old model car and you're asking this car to travel for 900 miles, what I need to do, just trying to bring it in a very simple form as we always do in our episodes. So you need to travel a very long distance and your car is a very old motor and you don't have enough fuel, etc. Then you cannot travel this. And then what you need to do before you start the journey is to check upon your car, to check upon its performance capabilities, to check upon. And here, then, the discussion of customer maturity, it's a much bigger story. But do you know how mature is your organization? So that's a critical starting point.
Of course. Okay, so when I teach strategy, which I do, and when I'm involved in strategy in businesses, it seems to me like you have to know where you're starting from. You have to know your starting point before you can even have a sense of where it is that you might be able to end up. So we're back. I can't believe we're back on the motoring analogies already, but here we are. It's your analogy. I'm not going to argue with you this week about it. Yeah. So we need a checkup on the car to make sure that the car is fit for the journey ahead.
Yes. And if it's not, then we know before we start, because once we start, we cannot blame the engine, but we have not made sure. So one aspect number one of the maturity assessment is the cultural adaptation, or how when you speak about customer centricity, how acceptable is it for people? How adaptable are they to the customer centricity culture?
Okay.
Are we swimming?
And this is huge.
Yeah, that's everything. That's everything in for a particular stack. That's everything.
Okay, because what we know is that anyone who's been in any corporation for any amount of time is not customer centric. If anything, they're hierarchy centric, is what they are.
Or as you rightly always say, you might be egocentric. Or
100%, I think they're egocentric. They're just trying to stay in their job, is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or panopticism, which you mentioned in our previous episode. Panopticism could be another way for things to happen.
Okay, cool. So how do you go about conducting that assessment?
Okay, it's a matrix that we conduct with the organization, including surveys, including simulation, including meetings, including analysis, statistical analysis. And these are 7 pivots that we examine. As I said, the culture is aspect number 1. The operating model and how does the operation run? How does the operations run in between? The technology capabilities. The strategy is another very, very pivotal aspect. And we examine the whole 7 pivots. And from there, we can reach one of 4 layers of customer experience maturity results. Either it's the organization is dealing with the notion of customer experience as stop the bleeding. We call this stage stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding is what customers are complaining, and we are just trying to push back, and we are just trying to avoid the blame. Whenever we are going to be reported to a higher authority, whether it's a trade association or social media campaign, that's what we call stop the bleeding maturity level.
Okay.
There is a higher one, which is better in terms of capabilities assessment, that they call it dealing with customer experience as a project. It's a project. It's one of the projects, but they have this the capability, and they deal with customer experience in terms of technology, in terms of prioritization, in terms of operating model, of a strategy, of culture. They're dealing with it as a project. There is another higher level that they are dealing with it as a program. So at one of the programs. And the much higher level is they are dealing with customer experience as a strategic pivot, and they are aiming to prime. We call it prime in customer experience. So we have 4 layers, sometimes 5, but rightly 4 always is good to show the maturity of this organization when it comes to customer experience.
Okay. So run the 4 layers behind me so I can grill you about each of the layers, is what we'll do. So the first layer was culture.
Yeah, culture.
Okay, so that's the base level. Is that the first thing chronologically that needs to happen?
That's the vertical pivots. So
They're
vertical pivot
vertical, so
number
they are
one.
pillars. Culture,
Yes, culture.
pillar number two,
Technology,
technology,
strategy.
strategy,
Yes,
and the fourth,
operating model.
operations.
Mhm.
Okay, and then sometimes there's a fifth, which is what?
When we take the fifth, sometimes we speak about the finance, the budget. So it's not how much do you have, but your financial appetite or your financial understanding of the business case. So when you understand CX, which is the previous episode that you mentioned, how to motivate so we keep this in our maturity assessment.
Right,
In a more accurate sense, if are they dealing with CX as a cost or as an investment?
right. Okay, so the thing is if they're not, this is going to cost some money, isn't it? Doesn't it always cost some money?
Yesterday I had a class in the university with my students, and just
Yep.
they are exactly repeating. But now when you mention it, they are saying, so when we do customer experience, we of course we're bringing savings. And I say, no, it will enhance the bottom line at least by 30%, but the top line might go less, which is of course, which is much smarter, which is much in an economic assessment, it's much better. If I bring top line as a gross revenue, if I bring you 2 billion and you end up with 300 million, then we're joking. Then something is going wrong. But if I bring you 1 billion and you end up with 500 million, it's much better.
Yes. Okay. So it seems to me that I think this is largely cultural. I think this is largely about people have been conditioned to treat their boss as their only customer. So as long as their boss is happy, then they're not going to get fired. And their boss is doing the same with their boss, and up and up and up. And you know, my idea: everyone's looking in the wrong direction. No one's looking towards the customers. So I think there's a culture, but then I think there's very physical, because we understand from our previous conversations that we've got into this situation because everyone thinks that the way to do business is to drive their costs as high as possible and drive costs as low as possible and their prices as high as possible. So we are reversing a culture of trying not to spend any money. And so the way it seems that pans out in a material, physical way is, for example, if you want to reduce the wait times for people in your call center, then you've got a few options. You could put 10% more people on the phone. You could give the people who are on the phone 10% more information and 10% more possibility of actually resolving people's issues. You could fix 10% of the issues that people are complaining all the time. So it seems to me like there's no mystery. There's options. There's things that you can do. But the barrier to doing those things is the cost. Right, so you're doing a magic trick here. I need to know how you're doing this magic trick. How are you addressing these other four pillars, but not addressing the elephant in the universe?
Yes.
The universe-sized elephant in the universe, which is you need to be investing in this.
Yeah, but 100%. But again, you remember the discussion of Peter Drucker, or the very famous quote of Peter Drucker, which is culture eats strategy at breakfast. I would say at breakfast and at lunch and at dinner. When at the brunch, at any moment there is this, culture will eat strategy.
Yes,
So and here then we add number 6 dimension, which is what the 6th dimension is, what governance.
governance.
Yes, which is one of
Okay,
our episodes. Which is one of our
that's the lost
our
episode. that we're going to record again when
Yeah.
I've forgotten about it.
Lumps, yeah.
Okay, good. So let me get my head around this. So the thing that has to change the most is the culture, but it's not just the culture of the customer-facing people, it's the culture of the business. So it can understand that it wants to be a long-term business. In episode 4, I spoke to a guy, Barnaby Winter, and he told me that previously, before businesses became so shareholder value focused, that the average lifespan of a corporation was 60 years, and now it's 15 years. So I think the culture needs to change in the management, where they say, okay, no, we want to be a long-term business. Like, we want to be delivering value and we want to be around for a long time, rather than the situation where I think lots of businesses are, where they just don't expect to be around for long, so they're just grabbing what they can whilst they can. Okay, so governance, culture, technology, strategy, operations. Nothing happens in technology without somebody spending some money.
Yes, but the mentality and the architecture, is the architecture ready enough to cater for the customer, or the architecture is based on you remember when I told you about one of the IT people, when he said from an IT point of view this is not doable, and then I said from a customer point of view this is not acceptable. That's again another dimension, is reflected on the architecture of the technological ecosystem that we're going to operate upon. Can you allow me to purchase a VOC platform? And IT can tell you, well, okay, bring a VOC platform. It's not only another stack. It's to be integratable within the total machine, the total operating technological machine.
Right. Okay, and I
So
suppose
how?
I'm being too stupid about this. I'm imagining that this is a one-time fix and then it's a maintenance situation, but you're probably going to go through passages of change to bring you closer to the end goal, rather than it being the end goal in the first instance. It's not like you change people's minds, you change the technology, you change the strategy, you change the operations, and then hey-ho, they're customer-centric. This is going to be, you're going to have to take baby steps to move towards improving those customer experiences.
That's where the symphony, where the maestro, you cannot come as a maestro and say cello, hey, piano, it doesn't come at, you have to prepare the violin people all alone, and you have to prepare the piano guys all, or the piano guy alone. And then when you come to the symphony as a maestro, when you start moving your sticks, they follow it. But it's not the show day, it's much before that.
Okay, good. All right, so, and this is an assessment. So you're only assessing these things at this point. You're not trying to fix anything.
No, just knowing what's happening. So that now, because the board agreed and the CEO agrees, now when I go to say, okay, go ahead now, you have.
And the first thing that you need to do is you need to look at those pillars: the culture, the technology, the strategy, the operations, the finance, sometimes the finance and the governance.
Yes.
What is your experience? Is it better to surprise the finance people with this, or is it better to get them on board from the beginning?
The assessment has to go smooth without any preparation, because it's an assessment. The Hawthorne effect, and people, okay, now we're under examination, so they start give you. But then after finishing the assessment, we have to be kind of factual and the surgical model, the German surgical way. So I have to tell you that you guys, you are facing the following issues, and we discuss.
Right. So how long does the assessment take typically? I suppose it will depend on the business.
In average 90 days, but it depends
Okay.
on how. Sometimes it's 2 months. If we are lucky, it could be 1 month, but that's kind of fast tracking and everybody working kind of day and night, weekends, etc. But the average is 90 days. Because you're going to the, if they have retail outlets, you're going to the retail outlets. If they have a manufacturing facility, you're going to the production line. If they have a digital experience, you're testing, you're examining, you're walking in the customer shoes. So it's the matter of how do you come to the outer world and live in the inner world and see the whole value chain. How is it running?
Right. Okay, cool. And how big a project is this? How many people are there in your team? You're not a one-man show. If
Yeah,
you
of
are a
course.
one-man show. Okay,
Uh,
good.
I don't like being a one-man show because at any level you cannot, Robinson Crusoe, very famous story, and him being very happy finding Friday. I'm always looking for a CX Friday. So
Okay,
so
good.
being it's like, yeah, there is something for someone on the island of customer experience. And our aim, we have to all agree that I want to turn everyone to be what we call them CXCNs. So I want everyone to be Friday. So I want all of them to be Friday. I
Okay,
want
cool.
everybody to, and that's the name of the game. That's the success. If we are able to transform everyone to believe in customer experience, we're successful.
Yes. If you want them to believe, then you need to convert everyone is what you need to do. Okay, good. So, how significant, like, could you do this without board level approval or board level agreement? Could that happen?
The assessment can happen without
Right.
agreement from the board level, but
Okay.
then sharing the results has to cascade to the board. Again, you're getting in the teeny weeny details of the organization, and that's a critical aspect that has to be clear with everyone. So now it's not uncovering secrets. It's basically sharing with the patient what are the root cause of their sickness. You have to
Okay,
be you
good.
have to be, it's not daring, it's being factual, it's being clear, gentlemen, the following is happening in your organization. And we all know in the business case discussion that was not healthy, that could never be healthy. That's not right. Revenue wise, if you guys are revenue centric, you have to be customer centric.
Yes, 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 yes. I get that. I get that. 100%. Um, Yeah, so it's like a chicken and an egg kind of a situation. It's like like because I'm imagining because the most risk adverse people are the finance people and the technology people. So you have to have some pretty hefty authority to get in there and get access to see what's going on. But then by the
Hmm.
same token, you have to have got in there and had some access to see what's going on to build your case, I would
Yes.
imagine. So I would imagine that's the difficulty. Is this something that a customer experience department can drive? Can they make that happen? Could a CX leader, a vice president of customer experience, phone you up and say, "Okay, Hany, we want to do this assessment"?
Yes, yes, big time. I have a number of my customers, I would say, or within my networks, they would refer to me. Big names. I don't want to advertise names in our discussion, but I have very big names you can dream of, and they refer to me to do that in particular,
Okay,
and we happily do that, of course.
okay. Okay, so this is essentially a consultation project, an assessment project where you go in and you assess what's going on.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Where you go in and you assess. Okay, so maybe we haven't got this in entirely the wrong order. Like we haven't necessarily convinced the business that we are going to change their culture and their direction to be exclusively customer centric. This might be
Mhm.
part of building the case. Okay, that's good. I'm more comfortable with that. I get confused if things come in the wrong order.
Yeah, your chronological thinking, it's making things. That's the perfectionist mentalities. I don't call it OCD because I follow the same way always.
Right. Yes, yes. I mean, I don't think I'm very bright is the thing. So I need to know the order that it's happening. Okay, so
Yeah.
in terms of the culture, this is happening through interviews, and I suppose if you're testing the culture, then you want to understand the culture of kind of every department. So you're going to find a culture in the customer service teams. You're going to find a culture in the IT teams, in the development teams, in the finance teams. So, in your
The,
experience,
the product, the product, don't forget the product development team.
the product development team,
Mhm.
yeah, because for me, this is where it all goes wrong with the product in the first, which is the very, very first thing. Okay, so now I'm interested to know you don't have to mention names. You don't have to libel yourself or get yourself into any kind of trouble necessarily. So make it as non-specific as possible. But what kind of attitudes, what kind of response are you getting when you're sitting down with people and saying, look, the customer experience team have come to ask me to talk to you about customer experience? What kind of responses are you getting?
Usually it's a protectionism. So it's like,
Yes.
okay, hi, and like protectionism, and like questioning, are you coming to fire me? Are you coming? Like, I completely make sure to get this under the disclaimer of don't worry, no matter what you have done, no matter what you will continue doing, this has nothing to do with you. This has to do with us on behalf of the board understanding what's going on. And you know what, if I the witnesses protectionism program, I ensure that they get this.
Right. So everything they say to you is anonymous,
Is covered,
protected. Because I think this is the primary motivation I mean, I haven't worked for a corporation other than as a service provider supplier for,
yeah.
where are we, 20 years. But it seems to me that protecting yourself, making sure you're covered, making sure you're not getting fired is the primary motivation in any business that employs more than 50 people. It just feels to me that. And this is the issue that I have with Simon Sinek. I don't know if I've told you this before. You know, when he says start with why. Well, I think the why for most people in a business is, well, because I have to put food on the table and pay my rent and do these things, you know. So having a loftier vision isn't necessarily useful. But I think people in jobs, in corporations, are scared about getting into trouble and not having a job necessarily. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. But that's something, that's an illusion in a sense, by the way. Not in this regard. Myself, when I put myself, and that's a discussion on employee experience. I'm sure we're going to have one episode about employee experience, or maybe more. But
Yes.
myself, I was doing an assignment, and I ended the assignment myself, not the organization. Because when I started to do the maturity, I realized in the strategy, they are not willing. It's not written in the strategic document or nor the policy. They don't have the will as an organization. So somebody, let's say he's the chairman, brought me and asked me to do so. And when we reached a moment of realism, that you know what, it's not going to happen unless you change the way you think. He said, no, actually, you know what, honestly, I'd rather stay where I am, revenue centric, not customer centric, on the expense of the customer. Here then I apologized. I said, let me end the relationship. I was like, are you ending money coming to you? I was like, yes, very happily. And he was like,
Because
why?
you're
If you
customer
have
centric.
exactly, if you have my name, I'm not going to be part of the crime, quote unquote. I'm not going to be part of the crime. Because for some reason he's reporting to the board that we have Hany Mokhtar doing customer experience, and when it comes to making the real radical changes to do customer experience, they decline. Then having Hany Mokhtar as a name, it's only promoting to someone in the board that we are doing the right thing, but in reality after a few months we're going to realize that it's never going to happen. So I'd like, I apologize. And they're like, you're getting money. I was like, thank you very much, I don't want this money. And he was like, so you lose the assignment, you lose the job. I was like, yeah, I'm good. And it was for them a kind of shocking. Like I ended to an extent where they opened the, there is a termination, thingy. So they brought the termination contract that they want to sign now. They thought I'm kind of negotiating. I was like, now I'll sign it now. Give me the pen. And I'm left-handed, by the way. I took the pen and I signed. And they were like shocked, like, are you serious? With the illusion that you were just mentioning, don't lose. No, this losing, it's not losing, it's winning yourself, it's winning your cause, it's winning your dignity, it's winning your mind. And we are not behind money only. We are behind ourselves. We are behind doing the right thing.
Yes. Amazing. Okay, good. But this is what I expect to be the norm. There's a fantastic meme that goes around by some guys. There are some Australian guys, and they're like a performance stand-up comedy kind of thing. And I want to share the meme, but they've got a rude word in their name, so we can't necessarily. But basically, they list off all of the businesses that have, in the first paragraph of their annual report, our first priority is the customer. Our customers are at the center. And actually, the phrase that they use, I can't remember which one of those it is like in every customer, is in every annual report, like the customer is at the center of everything we do, or whatever it is, customer experiences, whatever the thing is. But it's like word for word, exactly the same. And they read off like a dozen worldwide famous brands, which are also famously not particularly customer centric. Do you know what I mean? So it feels to me like this would be the norm, that everyone's going through the motions, everyone's recruiting a customer experience team, and somebody might even sit on the board from customer experience, and they might go through the motions, but everyone knows that we're not actually going to do this. And I would expect that is the norm. And I'm not at all surprised that immediately you know that you can't deliver the value that they're expecting from you, that you leave. Because, that's what I expect from you already. We've already spent 4 hours in conversation. I know that already. And so, given that that's the case, then I would expect you to go and sit down with the finance team and them tell you all of the stuff, and they might be brave and they might tell you what's actually going on, but them to expect nothing to come of this, and the IT people to expect nothing, and everyone to expect nothing to come of this. It feels to me like customer experience is I don't even know what the analogy for it is. Customer experience is like everyone just goes through the motions. Everyone's pretending like they want to do it. So I'm imagining that it's going to be challenging for you when you turn up and you're like, here we go, guys, we're actually doing this. That's what I'm imagining.
Yeah. Again, remind everyone in a particular use case that his mother is in the store. That the refund is for your mother. Then it revokes again. Okay, but no. My mom, no. Please do it. Like, okay, can we institutionalize? Can the starting of the name of the episode? Can we start institutionalizing what you're going to do to your mother, to everyone else? Because all of them are our mothers. All of them are customers. Not for the sake of our mothers only. We're just using this as a motivation, as an anchor to raise the motivation. But in reality, that's for the sake of the business, by the way.
Right. Okay, good. Because we don't seem to be getting. I mean, for me, it's all culture, and it's all the way up the tree to the boss. And the way I feel about it is, the higher up the hierarchy you are, the more institutionalized you are, the more entrenched you are in, this is the way it has to happen, this is the way it always happens. If it continues to happen like this, then I'm going to get the promotion. My career is going to go up. I'm going to be here till I retire. But then I suppose if what Barnaby's telling me, and the average life cycle of a corporation now is 15 years, then nobody has that security. So what I can't get beyond with my tiny mind is how deeply institutionalized that idea is, that this is the only way that you can do business. And the other thing that occurred to me this week, I'm thinking about this all the time, is I feel like businesses don't believe that they're actually delivering value to the customers, and they can't be customer centric because they're so not customer centric already. So this will be a repetition for people who saw yesterday's podcast, because he was a marketing guy, and his marketing attitude is the same as yours. He goes in system by system by system. This is what your marketing's promising. What are you actually delivering? Like every system, he does the same thing. And I'm telling him that's none of your business if you're marketing. Because if you're marketing, your job isn't to develop the product. That goes on by product development. And they deliver you some junk. And then you have to try and make this thing attractive enough that people show an interest in buying it, so that you can send your salespeople out there to bully them into buying it. And then your customer service people can take the phone calls and hang up on people if they're not happy with what it is that they've bought. So it's a question for me of how entrenched that is. So product development then, what is product development's attitude to customer centricity?
That's the worry. I'll connect the product development to the strategy. So
right.
To the CX maturity, let's put them in the microwave of CX maturity, or in the oven, and we're trying to bake the CX cake, which is, again, an institutionalization of CX transformation. Now, product development, it stems from where? From revenue only, or revenue given the customer, for the customer. Here then, what we start to do, when I check the strategy, does the maturity assessment, does the strategy mention customer experience in any way? Let it be a 3 years strategic statement, or 5 years. There is no 5 years anymore now. 2025 onward, it's only 2 to 3 years. So that's what we can take. But reading through the strategy document, the strategy, mission, vision, values, purpose, etc., do we find anything related to CX, to customers? If it is there, good initial good news. Now it's written, is it in any way implemented, or it's only mentioned? Now, the third level of testing it, is it written and implemented partially, or is it deeply engraved, or it is part of everything governed? So governance will enter the game. Now, when we see that, then we start getting into the product development cycle. Product development cycle, is it stemming from revenue generation on the expense of the customer, which is many of the cases are happening this way. The product development is coming with a revenue target, with an acquisition target. Now, for example, in the medicine, medicine industry, it's medicine manufacturing. When they connect to the pharma industry, they do it. What do they do? The salesperson, he has a target to sell a particular medicine. I'm not going to mention names. But when he is trying to sell this medicine and he's not able to fulfill the target, what does he do? He goes to agree with a number of pharmacies, and I have seen the case happening. They told me about it, by the way, this part of the protectionism. He goes to sell to a pharmacy or a number of pharmacies from his own money. And they keep the stock because it's coming towards the end of the year. And when they keep the stock and he's purchasing, but he cannot purchase because he has a staff in the company, they purchase, he gives them the money to purchase, then he achieves the revenue. When he achieves the revenue target, he takes bonus. From this bonus, he cuts what he has sold. Then they go in the market. What do? They burn the prices. The pharmacy, it will burn the price, because any money coming from that, they share it between them and him. So parallel business. Now,
Wow.
what's happening to you? What's happening to your organization? Whichever name the largest pharma medicine manufacturing company in the globe.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. I had an instance once where I went and did some sales training with a company, and they were selling stem cell treatments, and
Yes.
it was over the course of like 3 months, and the team just started smashing their targets, and they thought I was a genius. They thought I was incredible. And then it turns out that the whole team were just like defrauding the business. They were pretending like these things were being sold, and they weren't being sold.
Yes.
So it doesn't, I mean, that's a crazy story, but it doesn't surprise me that
Yes.
the lengths that people go to within a business to do the thing that they're supposed to be doing, which is impossible. You know, so
Yeah.
marketing have to come up with ways of marketing a product that nobody wants. For me, it starts with product development. For me, it starts with marketing, which should be about understanding a market. And then a market is a group of people with money they're prepared to spend on solutions or desires or whatever those things are. Now, when you get that right, then you don't really have to do a lot more marketing. You know the people with the problem. You've come up with the solution to that problem. So then you just really need to let them know about it. And you don't have to do too much in the way of sales, because they don't need to be convinced, like you've actually identified an actual product. But this is where it comes back to what I was saying before. Where do product development come from? Who do they report to? Like, why? Do you know what I'm saying? Because there's the thing I told you about. I can't remember who said it, but the guy said, you need marketing because you failed at product, and you need sales because you failed at marketing, and then we could extend this. You need customer service because you failed at product, marketing, and sales, and you need whatever it is that keeps you afloat, whatever skullduggery has to go on, so that people can be ticking the boxes and the business seen to be performing. share
Yes.
buybacks and those kinds of things go on, doesn't it? So
Yeah,
actually,
of
if you
course.
start thinking about it seriously, the whole thing is a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud.
Bubble.
It's a bubble. That's what it is. It's a bubble.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me connect that to the definition of customer experience, and I'll give you one of the famous definitions. So, customer experience, when I talk to my students, it's a result of an interaction between a service provider and a customer, as perceived via the customer conscious mind and subconscious mind, measured against the customer expectations across all moments of contact.
Yes.
So, so when you deal with that as customer experience from a product development, you are actually inducing revenue, but it's not easier. It's the hardest. It's the harder ways. That's the longer route, but that's the sustainable route. So because somebody is holding the watch, like when I want to count, I'm carrying the counter. I want to rush. So you're pushing someone to the shorter route, which is the wronger route, and they're going through it. And because they achieved what you said, so, good job guys, we have cheated, and then I have achieved the number, but somebody is lowering his volume, the good job guys, we have cheated, and no, we have cheated, we have done wrong, and which will make this business pay money again, from the bottom line, in the contact center, in the complaints, in the social media, in customers deflecting and leaving you to the competitor, etc. But somebody on the short term, for being egocentric, he tried to push that. That's where governance will have to come in a different discussion. But the product development is stemming from sustainable revenue or short-term revenue, and just trying to go into the washing machine and bring money and move ahead.
Yeah. Well, this is the realization I've come to about shareholder value, is that there's no
Hmm.
loyalty whatsoever with shareholders. Like literally, if I'm investing in your business in shares, my only goal is to make a profit from those shares. And the thing is, immediately I get a sense that that's not going to continue to happen, I'm gone.
Yes.
And so maybe this is why corporations only get to hang around for 15 years, is because everyone knows it's a short-term bust. But this comes back to my new idea, which is businesses don't think they are offering value. They don't think they can offer value. And so the easiest thing is just to try and foist whatever junk you can on your customers and hope to get away with it for as long as possible. Okay, so culture obviously goes through all of these things. So we can imagine the culture of the technologists is they're more interested in technology and saving money than they are the customers. The culture of the strategists is we have to keep the shareholders happy. We need to make a profit as quickly as possible to keep those guys happy. The operations people are trying to drive down costs, so they're not particularly focused on the customer. The finance people are only interested in reducing costs and improving the bottom line, so short-term profitability again. So we can see how we can imagine what the attitudes and cultures of these different departments are.
Yeah. Human capital. Can we add human capital to the list? HR.
HR.
Yeah.
So
They
HR's
are
main goal, I
reduce,
think, is preventing lawsuits for people getting mistreated. What was that?
so reducing cost, at least maintaining the paycheck as
Reducing
is.
headcount.
Not, yeah, not worrying about the employee experience. Let him, if he suffers, it's not our problem, as long as he can still take the hit. Let's
Yeah.
keep him till the last moment of hit. That's a norm. That's a norm. Somebody saying, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say something bad to our human cap, because the new name is human capital. To human capital, friends and brothers, that's not the thing. The thing is under pressure from someone mistakenly thinking that the human capital are a cost aspect, not an investment. But you know what? They changed the name from human resources to human capital. But in reality,
Because
happy
resource
about the
sounds
name,
like
the
a
tag.
cost and capital sounds like an investment. And
Exactly.
there's a culture, I think, in corporations where human capital or HR are seen as like the police. You know, you need to be careful of
Yeah.
those people. They're like trying to catch people out.
Yes.
Wow.
Investigation, case management. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Right. For me, the culture is everything almost. Because now we're going to talk about what
Martin.
you're looking for when you do an assessment of the technology. What are you looking for?
Yes. Let me share an example before we move to what am I looking for. in one of the assignments, we recruited a head of digital, okay, head of digital transformation in an organization, and ABC. What would you do in his office space? Would you install a whiteboard or a digital screen? And he came
Are you
back to me
asking
and he
me?
said, "I'm just sharing the."
Okay, so the head of digital transformation said, da, 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 da.
And he has filled the form, electronic form,
Yeah.
to the HR admin team, asking for a screen, and they said the policy doesn't allow you. I was like, "What policy, gentlemen? Are we?" Like, no, no, no. Find a way. I mean, get him an exception. It's like, get him an exception. Do you think someone has to look at the policy and readapt the policy for the job role that would need a digital screen for a digital transformation guy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
You
thing
know
is, it's
what?
hard to have sympathy for IT people as well, for technologists, because they are the second least positively motivated people, like most negatively. I do a 6 hacks thinking thing, and when we get into the red, the emotions, how people are going to feel, I get everyone to list everyone who's going to be impacted, and then at the bottom of the list, I always put IT and accounts, and then we go through the list. The leadership, how they're going to feel. They're going to be happy, smiley face. Customers, happy, smiley face. Servers, happy. Suppliers, happy. Everyone happy. And then we get to the bottom, and it's like IT, sad.
Yeah.
Finance, sad, because they're always sad. It is crazy, isn't it? It
Yes.
is crazy.
Yes. I wanted to buy him a flip chart and make this as a and present that in the annual strategy meeting. So sorry, gentlemen, in respect to the policy, in respect to the strategic direction of whatever, for the sake of your existing governance model, which is inside out centric, egocentric, administration centric, the head of digital had to work using a flip chart or a chalkboard. I don't know.
This is why I could never have a job again, because they'd want me to use like a PC, and I couldn't possibly. It's like I couldn't possibly. I haven't touched one of those things for 20 years.
Yes.
Okay, good. So it is policy, and so the technology. Here's what I think about the technology, in exactly the same way. So it goes exactly straight back to the culture. The technology has been designed and implemented to reduce costs and make sure everybody's jobs are safe, who's been involved in implementing that technology. And I think what that looks like is it looks like digital walls, so you don't ever get to know what the customer is experiencing. Like, so for example, now with my, the last time I banked with a legacy bank in the UK, you had to be really careful on the switchboard thing, like what you suggested the thing was, because the issue was, because if it was anything like anything they've got, then you go to a recorded message that says, oh, if you're having a problem with your overdraft, then you have to do this, 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 this. No, I want to speak to someone. That's why I phoned up. Because if I thought I could do it on the website, I'd be on the website doing it. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But they don't actually end up saving money, I don't think, technology. When I worked in IT, we were selling solutions to the banks. It occurred to me, I wonder if you dialed the clock back 50 years and said to the banks, look, this is going to be 70% of your revenue, these computer stuff. Like, are you sure you really want to do it? I wonder if they'd have gone down that route in the end anyway. I suppose they would, because the argument would have still been you're going to save more money. It's going to be more efficient.
In a sense, I would say, let's look at it on a more from an anatomy point of view. They have the mandate to reduce cost, OPEX or CAPEX. I'm not worried about the financial categorization. But in
Yep.
order for you to reduce cost, what do you do as an IT? So you try to reduce the development hours rather than, right? So when you reduce the development hours, you're trying not to think well, not to think of the customer, not to pay attention to the customer journey, but rather develop.
Yes.
And maybe you will develop wrong. Then in the governance cycle of CX, are we testing on behalf of the customer? Are we part of are we a gatekeeper before it launched to the customer? Of course we are. So I test. When I test, I say, sorry, it's not customer friendly. then what do? They have to redevelop again, which is higher cost again, that was not meant to happen. Now we're back to
Yes.
your point. While they are mandated to reduce cost, in order to reduce cost for somebody putting pressure, they actually increase cost.
Yes.
or or there is no governance, no CX guardian. So the CX governance, or sometimes it's a freely led organization. Just launch. No, we don't wait for somebody to test. Fine, fine, fine. Go ahead. I am there as a customer experience guardian, but I am in the market now because the product is in the market launched. So I will test like any other customer, or the customer will test and come back to us. Now we know that a catastrophic launch happened to the market. Then we have to take it back to who? To IT. We have to call off the product sometimes, and we have to apologize and mention any names, vehicle manufacturers issuing a large apology on a wrong product that has been published without the airbag or the airbag technology or the braking system, etc. I mean, sometimes it's safety and basics, but again, it's a customer experience. Then I go back to the CEO or to the board, say, hello, something catastrophic went without our approval, without our review as customers, and the customer realized the brand is impacted, revenue is impacted, IT budget will have to double or triple, that we have to work on an emergency basis. And then we have to clean our brand from whatever stains that came to the brand. I have to do
Yes.
so many washing, and then marketing communication will assume it's about campaigns. No, actually, you're widening the gap.
Yes.
That's the critical aspect. So IT, they have to think, and then every time when we discuss with the IT, sometimes we train the IT, sometimes we educate. It's an educational course similar to what we do in the university. When they come and they get certified, I make sure it's not about a certification, it's about adapting your mind to the facts, to the science. You know what, IT, you should be the gatekeeper number one for customer experience. That will help you to rationalize cost. That will help you to invest rightly. That will help you to produce with quality. And then you're going to be pride. Here, if you're going to give him the red hat and you want to draw some emotions, I will put the emotion of pride, feeling proud about my launch. I launched this particular solution and it's working well. It's helping people, saving their life. This solution in the particular medical industry, it's making people's life better. Well, let it be whichever solution, MRI or any other thing, but then I will put the smile of the pride on his face. But if he only captures the essence of customer experience integrated with IT.
Yes, and this is why I'm so excited about the topic of customer experience, because it is an attitude shift. Like, if you can just get people to change their minds, and we are going to do the thing about the business case, but the business case is solid. It really is. I'm going to tell you about a company. We don't want to name any names, but they make burgers and they've got a red and yellow logo. And I was really upset during the pandemic when the screen kiosks arrived. And I used to take my friend's little boy there for burgers, and he really liked it. It's the reason we carried on. And I really like a McDonald's breakfast, is the truth as well. But I knew what was going on, and they said it was because of COVID, and it was because of this and something else. And then that went on for about a year, and then they changed the whole UX on these screens. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to learn this whole UX again. And the thing is, you could see it quite transparently what was going on. Is that they just wanted to replace the people. But I, at that time, I'm thinking, okay, it's because people are maybe unreliable. I worked at McDonald's when I was 16. If I didn't want to go, I didn't go. When I did go, I wasn't particularly motivated. People aren't particularly reliable, and they're quite expensive, and they don't always turn up and stuff. And then I had a conversation with somebody who was working in customer experience in McDonald's. And it is McDonald's, by the way.
You mentioned it a while back. I didn't want to comment so that maybe it will pass, but it came twice now.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't going to get there. And then it turns out, because they were fiercely proud of how customer-centric they were and all these things, and they'll tell you they're customer-centric. And then it turned out this person doesn't work for, in case anyone's going to track down anyone I've ever met or anyone I'm connected to, they don't work for that company anymore. They have such a bad time of keeping people employed because the working conditions are so strict. Like if you go in this area and you've got that glove on, then you're fired. So the people who are working there are working double shifts very often because they can't keep people working there, and they can't keep, and so that's what's going on. So that's the technology is coming in to solve a problem which could be solved by just having a better attitude to your employees. And I know employee experiences, and for me, like that's the culture that delivers the customer experience, essentially. So what was the point of that story? That's the point of the story, where it's a digital wall now, because in other parts of the world, you can still go to the counter and speak to a human being if you want to. Where I am in Indonesia, employees don't function like that. If they're told send people to that machine, then they will send you to that machine, and they will refuse to serve you if you do that, which is also really terrible customer experience.
Yes.
So this is the issue. This is what technology is doing, is replacing employees and shutting down the line of communication from customers so you don't get to hear about it. Yeah. And then this is where the protectionism is embedded. So, for example, if you call a customer call center and you want to escalate the call, you can't. They won't do it. They'd rather hang up. They'd rather lie, because an escalated call is a negative KPI, and they don't want that because they'll be fired. So we're back on the culture thing, but I wanted to make the point about the technology. And it turns out this technology in this burger chain doesn't get people served quicker. They do tend to spend more, supposedly, because they're less embarrassed to order 2 burgers instead of 1 if they have to interact with a person. So the order value went up, but it takes longer. And I haven't eaten at McDonald's for a long time, I'm very proud to say. But you know, when you go in, if there's 2 people in front of you at one of those kiosks, you're going to be there for 15 minutes. You know, it's not a quick thing at all. So this is the thing. It comes back to the culture and the attitude. The technology is being implemented to replace the employees and shut down the lines of communication from customers, and that is a diametric change if you want to be convincing them to implement technology that actually improves the customer experience. Okay, good.
If I will try to, if I take from this very important example, and let's put the domino pieces in order. So the issue is culture related. The culture stems from the strategy or the executives' will to drive something different. The executives, whether they are board members or the CEO, in many of the instances, they find it easier to generate short-term revenue rather than building a long-term. However, then at many assignments, I would start from the board members' education about customer experience as a science, about the business case of customer experience. And in this regard, when I do that, it's not practicing pressure. They join hands with the CEO in understanding that we accept the transformation surgical operation, because it's then going to be fixing the jet while flying. We accept the delay of short-term revenues. We understand the cleanup of the top line for the sake of the bottom line, and we support the journey. So in many instances, I have been asked to educate the board.
Yes.
When we educate the board and the CEO, sometimes I do a one-to-one advisory or mentorship to the CEO on the CX business case, on the CX, because culture, it doesn't happen by itself. Culture, it's not it's not a flying spaceship that is revolving all around, and then we are going to educate people how to be good to other people. No, it stems from their motive, as you rightly said. So their motive comes from thinking of the management. The management, if they don't have the right know-how, they try to play the game of. There is a famous, by the way, the CIO. Every CIO, they know. Talk to any CIO or VP of IT. He tells you we have the 3 years of the CEO. Year number 1 coming to assess. Year number 2 coming to make the implementation. The new transformation. And year number 3, he's wrapping his bags to leave. And they said, I did what I can do, and they have an issue. So they know. But now when you speak to the board members, when you educate them rightly about customer experience, when they join the master class, etc., okay, now we capture. Now we can press on the right piano buttons. That's where the symphony starts to play. HR, employee experience. We bring in the digital. We educate people about Scrum and agility, not necessarily only PMP, etc. And in this regard, I can tell you, the example that I have mentioned where the head of digital, they don't want to buy him a screen.
Yeah.
We ended up with launching a CX laboratory. So the transformation happened. I just don't want to be negative all the time. I'm just sharing the negative and the positive.
Yes,
So we
yes.
ended up with the end, not the last episode, but the success story started when we were the first in the country. And I'm not going to mention the country, just trying to protect some privacy of my clients. But the minister in this particular country came to open the customer experience lab. Why a minister would come to a private company to open their customer experience lab? Because he wants to cascade a signal, and this country is favorite for you, as you always comment. So he wants to pass a signal to all the players that if you follow this, I'm going to come to you and open it as well. So we were the first in this particular country to have a customer experience lab with
Good.
all the tools that we discuss.
And this is the cause of my optimism. This is why we are offering the masterclass to the most senior leaders across the functions from the GCC region. Because you know
Yes.
what? They're not as entrenched as they are. They haven't got 300-year-old banks. And it goes against their culture. All of this stuff goes against their culture. They are not culturally individualistic, selfish, grasping, any of these things. Exactly the opposite. So, for example, I get them to present their culture to me, and they'll say, one of the cultures, I think it might be Saudi, where they say that when someone comes to the house, they'll go to them with coffee, with a coffee pot, and they'll drink the coffee, and they'll keep standing there, topping up the coffee until they're finished, until they do this, and that means they're finished, and then they can go and do something else. So the guest that you visit, the house that you visit, the host is there waiting for you to have your fill of coffee. Now imagine if you take that level of hospitality into your business. And this is what I say to the teams that I've taught: go be a good Saudi, be a good Qatari, be a good Emirati, be a good Omani, be a good Bahraini. Like, let your people be that, and you'll have the most amazing businesses. So that's the cause for my optimism. You're reinforcing what I already know, is it's cross-function, and it is the most senior leadership. I've just got one more. Do I need to tell you? I don't need to tell you that story. It's fine. What I tell people is that you need to start thinking of everybody you engage with in your work as a customer. So everyone gets the customer experience. Like, so if you're talking to your teammate, then they feel like that they're the center of that universe. If you're talking to your boss, they feel like they're the center of that universe. Other departments, suppliers, whoever it is. And that's the way you get kind of employee centricity and customer centricity actually embedded, which is whenever I'm having a conversation with someone, I'm here to serve you and make sure that you get the value you need out of this exchange. Good. Operations. Operations are just trying to make things happen with the little bit of money they've been allowed to have they?
With the less of load. They don't want to be loaded. The load, for them, it's a way of life. If you remember the security guy in the mall that he checks on your car on an everyday basis, and eventually they start to get more loose, then that's where the worry is coming. That's operations. They do this on a daily basis, and they want to decrease of load, and because they lose the brain. But if you refresh the brain, if you retrain, if you remind them what is the cause, why are we doing that, they would act rightly. So
Yes.
If operations are load averse, that's something. If operations are now, okay, I just mentioned that they are always load averse by definition. Well, now, because you don't have the tunnel, and we all know the famous feedback loop, the infinity thingy. Do you have the tunnel that takes the issue, if it is an outer loop issue, to the organization in an agile manner and come back to them, or again they are a sandbag? If they are a sandbag, they will be load averse by definition. If
Yes.
they are that channel, the proper channel of channeling the customer issue to the organization that takes it in an agile manner and comes back with a remedy, then they're going to be proud about it. They're going to be really happy to contact the customer again and say, hello, sir, you have reported the following issue of compensation or of refund or of faulty, etc. And our organization is happy to tell you that it is fixed. It's not going to happen anymore. We welcome you. Here is the following symbolic compensation.
Good.
Then these
100%.
people, let me integrate.
Because the thing about operations people is they are overloaded. They are understaffed. Like every
By definition.
job you ever get, it expands by 100% at least. And then they start laying people off, and then they're not replacing people. And then, so I can imagine and agree that being overloaded probably is the biggest concern, fear, worry of operations people. 100%. Okay, good. You were going to say?
Then now I'm going to do two things to them. One of which is their employee experience. So physical place, which we're not going to get now into the imperatives of employee experience, but the physical space is a question. So whether the headsets or the seats they are sitting in on, etc. We're going to tackle that from an HR, because now HR knows that if you settle it right for the employees, they settle it better for the customer. So by HR getting educated on customer experience and employee experience, they are doing for the operational teams the right employee experience, and as such, it's a recipe for the better customer experience.
Yes.
Meanwhile, on the career, see something really could be different, but that's very integrated. You guys know that being in the operational teams, excelling in customer experience will open the door for your career development in the customer experience department, in the product development department. Because why? You have the largest exposure level to customer issues, to customer interaction. Then we are looking for you, upgrading you on marketing, upgrading you on commercial, etc., upgrading you on CX. It's much easier, but you have the wealth of what? The wealth of knowing, the wealth, the cultural wealth, and then we get you there. So this is the right gateway, the right path to your career. So employee experience operates, solidifies on two levels: employee experience, physical, etc., technological, and so on your career development. So now we're solidifying the story. And the organization, guess what? It's gaining on the business case of employability, because you don't need to purchase someone from the outside market with 10 times salary. You have your guy and he's growing, and you make a proper growth for him, but not as equal as you get it from an outer market.
Yeah. Great.
Powerful enough.
Really, really powerful. But the thing is, it is a diametric change. It's like we've all been going that way, and now we need to go back the other way. And I'm thinking more about the GCC and about how they are, like, I speak to how motivated they are. Like when I'm in training rooms and I've got groups of training people, everybody wants to contribute to the success of their business, to the success of their country. Everybody wants to be involved and everybody wants to contribute. So everyone wants to do that. But I don't get a sense that they are overloaded. Like the governments have made huge investments in getting their people into the workforce, and they're not overloaded, is the sense that I get. I hear quite often, I don't have enough to do. And it seems to me like that's a good thing, because the other thing you need, if you're going to deliver a good customer experience, is you need a little bit of spare. You need to be able to identify, in this instance, like the process isn't going to resolve the issue, and so there needs to be a little bit of spare. I need to be able to have 5 minutes or 10 minutes to be able to spend with this customer, because their problem doesn't fit in a neat box, and it doesn't fit neatly into the process. So this is why I'm hopeful of the region also, is because they don't have to run at 80%, resourcing. Like they can run over-resourced. And then I think what happens, I mean, you'll know better than me what happens is, once you've fought all of those fires and resolved all of those issues, then you can start to scale back, or you can start to put people into new positions. Because the thing I want to say is, I want to say that neither of us have said yet, is that actually everyone knows what human decency is. Everybody knows how to treat people respectfully and how to treat people disrespectfully. And businesses don't treat people respectfully. I could give you for instance, I've got 5 things going on currently that could be resolved in a second if somebody would just give me a second to actually have the conversation with me and understand what the issue is. I mean, with 5 different businesses. So it is, for me, or it gets to the point, let's just say, where it is disrespectful, which comes back to your point, which is if your mother's coming into the business, you better let people know she's your mother, or else she's not going to be very happy when you go around her house for dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
I agree.
So the last one is... Yep.
But just to complement, then here, do you imagine that the longevity, the lifetime of this business would be only 15 years?
Yes.
I can double it. I can triple it. I can quadruple it. Not me,
Yeah.
not me. The customers, their generations. We all can remember. You can remember a product that your grandfather used to love, because if it is following the right cadence, you're going to still purchase from or promote.
Yes. And yeah, so this we're going to have to cover this when we come to the business case. I'm going to have to do some research so I can have a meaningful conversation with you about the business case.
Yes.
And we're going to touch on it now because we're coming to finance. And this is
Yes.
maybe all I want to say about finance is the top 500 businesses in the world, the thingy 500, whatever they are, they spend on average 35% of their turnover on customer acquisition. And
Yeah.
those businesses spend another 8% on customer service. So you don't have to be great at maths to know that you're talking about 43% of their pre-profit costs. So if
Yes.
you are seriously thinking about saving money in a business, you've got to be thinking about customers. You've got to be.
Invest. Yeah. Invest in customer experience, of course.
But they're not. They're not. Because, like, I remember when I started my business was a marketing company, and I used to do a lot of presenting, and at the end of every presentation, there'd be a little queue of people, and they would all be saying, we need new customers, can you help us get new customers? And I don't know how far into it I was, maybe a month or two. At the beginning, I'm really excited, I've got all these new clients.
Yes.
And I start thinking, well, what's wrong with the customers you've got? You know, oh, they're not good customers. They're not the right customers. They're not the da-da-da-da-da-da. And it, you know, this is my thing. Customers are the most valuable asset in your business, the most important asset in your business. Because if you have a customer, they will tell you, if you have the good sense to talk to them, exactly what the value is that you're delivering and how you could deliver more value. And so this is the other thing that businesses are really excited about is innovation. There's no innovation. I've got a whole thing about problems being innovation food. If you want solutions, you need problems. Well, if you've got thousands of people phoning your business every day, telling you what's wrong with your business, that's all of the solution fuel that you need. Like if you were to start ticking off those things and fixing those things, the number of calls will go down, the customer satisfaction will go down, your innovation will go up because people will be telling you about how you can make your business better. So it seems to me like we need to have a whole conversation about this. I need to research it. But it's obvious to me that if you really want to drive down your costs, the top Fortune 500 businesses are spending 43% of their pre-profit costs on customers. Like that's where you're going to save some money.
Yeah. I'll say something, but just being blunt. Finance can choose one of two roles. Finance can choose either being an undertaker or being an investment engine, an investment driving engine. And
Yes.
it's a matter of the easier one is an undertaker. What does the undertaker do? He takes the calculator and he calculates 3 plus 9. Okay, when we need to close the numbers. 6 plus 6, we're about to end the year. I need to bring the numbers. 9 plus 3, typical forecast. Are we about that, dear finance, or are we about investment on the long term? Are you securing the shareholders' rights by saying 9 plus 3 and let's close the year by year? We're then an undertaker.
Yeah.
You're then just doing the undertaker role.
And so, I mean, the question for the business is, do you want to be a business that thrives and grows and everyone enjoys? Or do you just want to be in a business that's going to go off a cliff at some point and everybody knows it and everybody's going through the motions?
Yeah.
Wow.
There is, I'll tell you something. One incident when I did the assessment in one of the assignments, and when I did the assessment, I said I want to purchase a VOC platform. And I entered some sort of procurement committee led by finance. And the CFO in this particular assignment, he said, well, why do I have to invest this amount of money in the VOC platform? And I was like, because this is a do or die. We're disconnected from our customers. We, as a brain of this organization, we're only reliant on operations, and operations are trying to take the bunches in the sandbag and avoid getting into, and they don't have channel also to cascade. And he was like, no, no, I don't think we're going to approve this. Imagine that situation on the strategic level, mentioning in the strategy customer experience, finance, and they are not willing to invest in the VOC. And looking at the VOC as a line item in the budget that is CapEx or OpEx, I care less. And trying to say, then I had to go to the board again. Luckily enough, because I have educated the board myself on that consultancy assignment, and the CEO, they stood behind my back, and we managed to do it. And imagine what we did in the business case in 3 years' time. Let me give you the ending scene, which is the end of season 2 and starting season 3 with this organization. The chairman, one of the highest names in this particular country, that is favorite for you as well. The chairman bringing everybody in a whole room and saying, Hani and your team, customer experience, thank you. Now I can raise my head high in any gathering, in any personal gathering, mentioning the guy is a top notch in this country. He's a top man. And he said, now I can raise my head high in front of everyone because of what you guys did to our brand, which is customer experience.
I love you, man. And I want to do this for many, many, many more businesses. This is exactly what I want to do. But I want to do it for the businesses, and I want to do it for the employees, and I want to do it for the customers, and I want to do it in specifically that region, because what I think is in the West, it's over already. They're not coming back. I mean, the challenger brands are doing good. I've got this whole thing I do comparing Barclays to Revolut, and how it, like, Revolut have basically generated the same half the value in 1% of the years that it's taken Barclays to do it and things. So I think there's some brands coming through, but literally the businesses and the governments and the people are all just busy ripping each other off because they know that they're just going to get ripped off, you know? So it's like the government have their hand in your pockets, the corporations have their hands in your pockets, and then we've all got our hands in each other's pockets because we haven't got enough of our own, you know? So this is why, and what I'm hoping is, like, I'm going to get Barnaby, who I spoke to yesterday, to do his market-centric marketing magic for me. What I'm hoping is that I'm just not projecting this. And I think our mission is to work out, and it seems to me like you've got your ideas and your tested solutions, and I've got some of my ideas and my tested solutions, is to find out, is to discover a way where we can reliably convince people of this and walk them through the process. That'll be you. I'm not a walking people through the process sort of a person, so that they can realize this benefit. Because then there's no downside, it seems to me, other than your short-sighted investors are going to go away. And you might have a short-term downturn on your shareholder value, but the long term is there's value for everyone. You know, there's value for everyone. Okay, good. All right, I've come up with a new question that I haven't asked you before.
Can I need to excuse for a minute. Can I? Sorry.
You can, yeah.
There's yeah, allow me.
Okay.
Sorry, Martin, I'm back.
That's okay. Yeah, so this is what we need to do.
Yes.
So it feels to me like we've got to the end for today.
Yes.
But I'm going to ask you the question that I'm now asking all of the other people I've interviewed. There's only 3 of you in total so far. The question is, which business would you say is the business that is the greatest business in the world ever? And specifically, because I'm going to do like a content series on this, I'm going to investigate and see if we can work out which one actually is. Because I know if I go to ChatGPT, they're going to give me the business that's generated the most shareholder value or something. It's going to be an American business. But it seems to me that there are businesses that will have delivered much more value in the world to their customers, to their employees, to their communities, to their countries, to their regions, to the world. So which company do you think I should investigate to see if it is in fact the greatest company in the world? Two of them are gone, so you need to know which ones are gone. One of them that's gone is Patagonia. Do you know the outdoor adventure
Yeah.
company? They're gone.
Yes.
They've been nominated. And the other one is probably the world's most obvious one is Apple.
Mhm.
So other than Patagonia or Apple, who would you say is the greatest company in the world ever?
In customer experience in particular.
In delivering value to the world, which I think is customer experience and employee experience
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all of
yeah.
those things, yeah.
Yeah. I really wanted to nominate Amazon, but the problem
I'm not having that, no.
it's incomplete. Now sometimes because I don't follow market advertising trends. I don't follow campaigns. I follow reality. I'm putting myself in the customer
Yeah.
shoes, and then I can tell a number of terror stories that Amazon themselves will not be happy to hear. And it's not incidental. It's deeply chronically.
Yeah, and there's
Uh,
chronic issues with. I mean, I never had an issue with Amazon until Jeff Bezos got off his spaceship. And he said, "Oh, I want to
yes.
thank everyone who's ever bought anything from Amazon, and I want to thank everyone who's ever worked for Amazon." And then you hear the horror stories about the way people who work for Amazon are treated. And you look at the fact that they've just fired 30,000 people and replaced them with AI. And you're like, no, you're
Yes.
not a customer centric. I know he is supposed to be the most customer centric business in the world, but I don't. And then when I do leadership stuff and vision stuff, I put up his vision, and his vision is basically to deliver more junk more quickly, more cheaply. And it's like, how's that good for the planet or the customers or anyone? So no, not Amazon. There might
I'm
have been a
thinking.
time you could argue Amazon.
Yeah, any case, it's a longer discussion because there are so many aspects that they need to. They have excelled in one or two aspects, but they've missed on. So as we said, it's a holistic thingy. But in a trial to answer you rightly, I'm going to pick. So for example, Kempinski hotels. I have seen this level of caring about you as not necessarily as even a customer, as a human being. They have this. I have seen this across so many Kempinski incidents, Kempinski transaction, Kempinski hotel stays. They have this within their DNA.
Right.
I'm
So
not saying they are
Kempinski
the best.
Hotels, I'm going to
Yeah.
investigate Kempinski Hotels. They could potentially be the greatest company in the world. Excellent.
At least in this particular aspect of caring about human beings.
Right. Good. Good.
British Airways, they have so many inefficiencies, okay? But they have this dimension not of hospitality, of caring about the human being.
Yeah.
So to fly the
Okay.
flag and lose the bag, all these they have. I can tell you stories from the customers. This is not my code. These are customers. By the way, there is a famous
I've
Egyptian. Go ahead, go ahead.
got a
Okay.
famous Egyptian.
This is an Egyptian statement that that the new startups, because there is another class for a startup and entrepreneurship that I educate. They started to spread a statement. They say, "Eat the pie and fly."
Right.
So yeah, 5 years, not necessarily 3 years, 1 year. It's okay. Just eat the pie and fly. In Arabic or Egyptian, they said, "Kol el fatir wutir." Fatir is the pie in Arabic, and tir fly. So it's eat the pie and the fly, which
Okay.
is why would we do? Let's build something sustainable for years, for second generation, for third generation, and let's build the right customer experience. So back to the British Airways, they have this particular quality. In particular, other issues they have other issues, but they have this particular quality.
Maybe the greatest business in the world is a high bar to start with. Maybe we should just be looking at actual customer experience. I flew British Airways last year, and the flight was booked like 2 weeks in advance, and I tried to go through the check-in process and all of these things, and the website
Yes.
wasn't working. And I got to the counter, and she's like, "Oh, you're going to have to sit here, probably between these two really fat people." And I'm like, I'm
Okay.
not going to sit there because your website wasn't working. So you're going to have to find me another seat. She did, bless her. But I said, look,
Yeah.
I hope you do a better job with your planes than you do your website. And she's like, oh, I
Yeah.
think we do.
Okay. Okay. At least, yeah, yeah. At least we're there.
Trust
At
you.
least we're
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
I
yeah.
have seen here and there. I am capturing bits and pieces of respecting the human being, of respecting the customer, of worrying about the customer. That's where something is sparkling, and from there we can capitalize And you know what?
Yes.
Use the signal to magnify the signal and spread. I can give you 20 of other examples about these. Not initiative from someone. It's a business initiative. One aspect of it, not the whole thing. For example, from FedEx, I have seen something really good in US when I was in the US, and I can give about being flexible with the customer needs.
Yes. And but
So
that
if
goes
it,
back to what I was saying before. Then you need to have a little bit of spare. So when the issue that the customer presents isn't covered in the policy book, then you can take
yes,
5 minutes and just go through that other thing. Okay, good. I just
so
thought of something. You know what I
yeah,
think it's going to be? I think it's going to be, there's a region, I think, around Pisa in northern Italy, and it's famous.
yeah,
They have lots of cooperatives. They have lots of
yes,
cooperative businesses, and there's one that makes a Parmesan cheese, and a cooperative is owned by the employees and all of these things. And it might be they have to go to Pisa and investigate those businesses.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it might be something like that will end up being the greatest business in the world. But I think maybe
Yes,
I need to come up with a criteria first, so that's going to be episode 1. Okay,
yeah,
cool. You've been an absolute legend. I need you to start directing me people that I could talk to maintain the podcast. I'm wondering,
yes,
are you around next Sunday? Can we do the business case thing next
yes.
Sunday, do you think? Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Let's
yeah,
get
yeah.
that done then as well.
Yeah, next Sunday is great because the graduation for my students, there's going to be a class in Friday, Saturday, and since Sunday I'm done.
Okay, cool. Excellent. And this time again?
Yeah, I believe that's a better time. Always, it's always better.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, you're an absolute
Great.
legend, Professor Mokhtar. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I'm
Martin.
so
My
glad we're on
pleasure.
this mission together. We are going to save all of these businesses. That's what we're going to do. And all of these
Yeah, yeah,
customers. That's what we're going to do.
yes. Big time. We will.
Excellent.
We will.
Okay,
Together.
super cool. Thank you so much, man.